Now, back to Women in Trucking on SiriusXM's Road Dog. Here's your host, CEO of the Women in Trucking Association, Ellen Voya.
Well, we're talking about drivers' health today, and this is a name that many of you will recognize, Hope Zvara. She's a yoga and lifestyle expert, motivational speaker, and the CEO of Mother Trucker Yoga. If you were at the Mid-America Trucking Show, you maybe went to one of her sessions. She also created the Stiff Mother Trucker Pain Relief Cream, but she has a passion for the truck drivers and the trucking companies in merging health, fitness, and trucking with just simple changes you can do right from the cab of your truck. She's been recently featured in Forbes and Yahoo News and dozens of podcasts and radio shows. Every truck driver can feel better wherever you are with small changes. So thank you so much, Hope, for being on the Women in Trucking Show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellen. I was looking forward to this, and I feel like every time I'm on the show with you, we always have a good time. So I'm excited to have a conversation.
We do. And so how did you get yoga and trucking? Tell our listeners how that started.
Yeah. Well, my past life, I like to call it, I had a yoga studio in Wisconsin here. I know we're both based in Wisconsin, and a state approved vocational school teaching teachers. And I was just kind of getting burnt out and felt like that really wasn't where I belonged. And you ever feel like you have like gifts or talents and they're not being utilized the way that you feel like they should be? And so I was looking for a change, and my husband invited me to a local business mixer here in my small hometown. And I went and I started talking to this guy I never met, and I'm trying to pitch him corporate yoga. And he looks at me and says, "Do you have anything for truck drivers, like in the cab of the truck?" And I think I'm funny sometimes. And I threw up my hands and I was like, "Mother Trucker Yoga." Just trying to get a rise out of this guy, like just trying to make the conversation a little less awkward and painful. And he looked at me and said, "That's brilliant. You want to go into business together?" And we shook on it. He called me the next morning. 4 months later, we had built a business from scratch and launched actually at Mid-America Truck Show in 2018. And then a year later, I bought him out of the business. We're still on good terms and good friends, but I was just kind of doing everything. It was my vision. It was what, I had been, doing for so long, and now just doing it for drivers. But he was in trucking. He was kind of, my connection into trucking.
Oh, that's interesting. And how long ago was that? Because it seems like you've been at it for a while.
I feel like it's been a really long time, but that was late, right? Time just goes so fast. That was late 2017, and then we launched 2018 at that Mid-America Truck Show.
So, Hope, you know this. The driver population has been called one of the least healthy occupations. Why do you think that is? Why are drivers not taking care of themselves?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One, I kind of feel a little bit like they are kind of the forgotten population. And so everyone's talking to everybody else about health and fitness. And because drivers are never in one spot, they're kind of like ghosts on the road, because they're there and then they're gone, and then they're there and they're gone. And no one's really given them attention over the years. But I think also it is a hard life because you're never in one spot, because you don't have a lot of things accessible. You can only bring so much stuff on your truck. That connection to trying to live healthy or trying to live a fit life up to this point has always been gym style exercises. And even still now, the idea of cooking on the truck, although it's a great idea, I have a lot of drivers that do it, but the majority of the drivers, it's too much. It's too complicated. It's too much work. And I think that is a hesitant or a hindering for them to want to live a healthier life.
Well, and a lot of drivers don't want food smells in their truck all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And cooking on your truck does also lead you to always have access then to food. Like, where am I going to go grocery shopping now? When am I going to get access to this? And I think for some drivers, actually for a lot of drivers, that's just not in the cards for them. They just don't want to. And why are we trying to push them to do something that is maybe just not practical for them?
So the first thing that you need to understand is the trucking industry, which you do. You have immersed yourself in the trucking industry because if you don't understand what drivers' challenges are, you can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
And so recently you came out with a book. Talk about your book, Hope. I have a copy in my hands right now.
Well, thank you so much. Well, it's called Trucking Yoga, Simple Fitness for the Long Haul. And that's what it is, simple fitness. After 20 years of being in the fitness and health industry, one of the things I've recognized is most people are trying to help their clients or their students at the finish line, meaning you've already crossed the finish line as the expert, as the instructor, as the teacher, and you're trying to give people those mousetraps that work for you where you're at right now. I love working with the drivers that are at the starting line, way at the beginning. And so this whole book is all about building a foundation, not just with fitness. Sometimes I'm always like, ooh, like I don't even like using the word yoga sometimes. It's about really learning how to incorporate more movement into your everyday life. We're meant to be mobile beings. We're not meant to be a lion where we sleep for 23 hours and then run as fast as we can to go get prey and then sleep again. Like, we're meant to be mobile. And for truck drivers, yes, you're moving, but it's almost like an optical illusion because we feel like we're moving as a driver, but really you're physically not moving. And that's costing them. That's costing them their health. And I'm here to say you don't have to do that. And so in the book, well, you have the book. It's really written for drivers. I talk about health on your own terms, and talking about this idea that, you know, you're designed to move. I compare the human body to an entire truck. So if you're like, I don't understand the body, I don't understand like what this all looks like. Well, if you understand your truck, you're going to understand the body. But also talking about, I call them wellness pit stop check-ins, giving drivers practical feedback to say, am I living to the best of my ability? Am I moving my body the way it's designed to? And for those of you that haven't picked up the book yet, this isn't me telling you that you need to do a bunch of push-ups or run for 4 minutes around your truck. This is me telling you, like, hey, let's improve your posture. Hey, let's pay attention to how your walk looks. Hey, here's some things you can do in the driver's seat in, you know, seconds a day, not even minutes a day. A lot of it while driving. This is about being practical and smart.
So a lot of the exercises can be done inside the truck. Earlier we had Kelly Lynn call in and talk about how sometimes maybe some of our listeners, female drivers or other drivers, don't want to be visible. And, you know, a lot of your exercises are outside the truck, but a lot of them are inside the truck. So talk a little bit about some of those.
Yeah. So when I started thinking, okay, is this trucking yoga, trucking fitness thing viable? One of the things I recognized right away was that everyone else in the industry was taking movement outside the truck, and I travel a lot. I have not been to a truck stop where I've seen groves of people outside exercising, although I would love to see it. It's just not practical for a lot of reasons, whether it's the area is unsafe, you feel insecure or uncomfortable, space is an issue, like, please don't do this on the side of the road. And so for me, with my background and my expertise, I was like, oh my gosh, I can show them so many things they can do in the driver's seat and right on the sleeper and standing in a small 2-foot space right inside their truck and get the movement in that they want and feel good. And that's really what the book is primarily focusing on. There's more than 60 exercises, and 3/4 of them are all focused inside the truck.
So it is really for a driver's lifestyle, and it's not that hard to make short or small changes. Talk a little bit about, you know, what can drivers do to reduce pain and improve their health, and make it simple?
Yeah, I follow the 1% rule. So you'll never hear me talk to drivers and ask them to completely overhaul their life. I mean, look at New Year's resolutions. Less than 8% of people stick with their New Year's resolution after 2 weeks. And there's a reason why. It's because our brain doesn't like change. And so when we change too many things at once, we actually go into preservation mode and we resist because it's scary and it's different and it's unfamiliar. And so I like to follow the 1% rule. I would much rather have a driver adapt one thing to their life. Let's say they're going to do a pelvic tilt in the driver's seat to help reduce back pain, or they're going to pay attention to their posture. They're going to do, you know, a stretch in the sleeper to help them fall asleep, or whatever it is, a meditation, you name it. And they're going to do that every single day. They're going to commit to that every single day for an entire year. If they do that 1% better every day, that's 365% better than what they were the year prior. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And
if isn't it just like when you think about it that way, it's like, wow, that seems a lot more doable and reasonable.
But you have to make it easy. You have to make it easy because drivers have a busy schedule. They have to take the moments when they can, maybe when they're waiting for a load or, to get unloaded or whatever. You hear this all the time, though. Drivers are tired at the end of the day, right? So how do you motivate someone to do exercising after they've driven for 11 hours?
Well, and here's one of the things I like to explain to my drivers is that a lot of times we're tired, truck drivers, anybody really, we're mentally tired. We're not physically tired. And so one of the number one things I hear from drivers is they can't sleep at night. Think of it like a cup of water. So you drink, let's say, a fourth of the cup of water all day long. And then you go to bed and your body is like, time to rejuvenate, time to fill the cup back up. But there's only a fourth of it empty. And your sleep is supposed to refill the entire cup. But because you haven't physically moved, because you haven't physically exhausted yourself, you're mentally exhausted, you're mentally fatigued. Your sleep now is affected by that. And now repeat that cycle for a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 50 years, no wonder you're not feeling your best. And so I think, one, we first need to recognize that there's mental exhaustion and there's physical exhaustion. And then two, that at the end of the day, when you're tired, I'm not saying go out and, do a bunch of push-ups and do some major cardio or a HIIT program. But what about if you lay in the sleeper and you watch one of our videos and you do a 10-minute yoga routine to help you wind down? You move your body, you get your blood flowing, you get your lymph circulating, you help with digestion, you help your mind calm down, and you kind of empty that cup a little bit more so that you sleep better, so that you stay asleep longer. I mean, this is really what it's all about, is setting a foundation for a healthy lifestyle. If exercise was the solution, we'd all be fit and healthy, Ellen. We'd all be at our best. If exercise was the mousetrap, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I don't believe that it is. I don't believe exercise is the solution. I think understanding what it means to live a mobile, functional, active life as a driver is really where it starts. And so it is about inserting more movement into the day. It is about drinking one more bottle of water. I'm not saying you need to drink 120 ounces, but how about just one? And creating a foundation, a baseline that you can live by. And I'll leave you with this, and then I'm sure you're going to have a thought. So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I'm going to drink that one cup of water that hopes that, even though I don't like it, because I need to do it. And then you're thinking like, wow, I drank that water. I'm feeling really good. And then you're doing your pre-trip check. And you're like, I remember I'm going to walk a couple extra laps around the truck because I have 5 minutes. And you're like, wow, I'm feeling really good about myself. I'm energized. You get in the driver's seat. You do some little bits of movement. You park for the day. You go in for lunch and you're like, okay, I'm feeling really positive. I've done all these things. I'm going to try to find something healthy to eat. I'm going to have a salad. I'm still going to get my burger, but I'm at least going to eat a salad first because I know I need to get my veggies in. And you're feeling really good about the fact that you got a salad in. And even though you don't love it, you ate it. And then by the end of the night, you're so proud of yourself. You're so motivated by your own choices that you're like, I'm going to do a little stretching, or I'm going to do a little meditation, or I'm going to clean up my truck, or I'm going to get rid of this trash, or I'm going to do whatever. It's a cycle. It's small changes accumulated through the day and over time that pushes us into better choices. It's a trickle effect. The same is true when you wake up and you make a bad choice. And then you just think the whole day is garbage.
I love your passion, Hope. I got to take a break, though. And I would love to listen. And when we come back, I want you to talk about why Mother Trucker Yoga is different. And also, I want you to talk about the Stiff Mother Trucker Pain Relief Cream as well, and where they can get your book. So we're going to take a quick break. If you have a question or a comment for Hope, 888-876-2336, 8888 Road Dog. This is Ellen Boya. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome back to SiriusXM's Women in Trucking Show with your host, Ellen Boya, President and CEO of the Women in Trucking Association.
We've been talking about health and wellness on this show today, and opioids. But my guest for this segment is Hope Zvara. She is the CEO of Mother Trucker Yoga, also the author of Trucking Yoga. Hope, where did they find your book?
Yeah, you can find my book in a couple of places. You can go to our website at mothertruckeryoga.com. You can also find it on Amazon, and we're on about 150 different book platforms. So even if you just go to Google, you're going to find that book just about anywhere.
And talk about the stiff Mother Trucker pain relief cream. How did you come up with that?
Yeah. So as someone that's been in the fitness and yoga world for, 20 plus years, I always said to myself, I'm going to one day make my own pain relief cream because I used it at the end of classes all the time on my students. And I always had a disclaimer. This one's too greasy. This one, only works for so long. This one has a bad smell. This one's going to stain your clothes. So be careful. And so I felt one day I'm going to make one. And then I met somebody and she was like, I love your company. You should have and we both said it at the same time, pain relief cream. And she's like, I can help you make it. And so actually right before the pandemic, I spent about a year formulating it. We did about 10 different rounds of formulas and found one that worked. And then when we were thinking about the name, I like puns. I like to ride the edge of almost inappropriate. That's just my nature. And so I was like, what should we name it? And Mother Trucker Yoga is my business name. And I'm like, what about stiff Mother Trucker? It's stiff. People are stiff. I want to get people to laugh. I mean, so many people, they pick stuff up and life is so serious. And I want someone to pick it up and to laugh. I want them to be like, I'll give it a try. I mean, it's $15. What the heck? And just see if there's one small thing they can do to improve their health and reduce pain. I mean, hey, why not?
So I want to ask you a little bit about how Mother Trucker Yoga is different from other options, especially in the trucking industry.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences is I'm not promoting exercise. I'm not promoting a quick fix, and we don't focus on weight loss. I believe weight loss is a side effect to positive changes, just like weight gain is a side effect to like negative changes or things that you're not doing in your life. And I really focus on building a foundation for drivers. I want them to find how to improve the life that they're living on a daily basis. And when we look at exercise or even like healthy food, we're putting it in a box. And then we put that box on the shelf. And then we're like, okay, I'm going to pull the box out at 6:30 p.m. tonight. Well, then 6:29 rolls around and you're like, I'm tired. My favorite show on Netflix is on. My grandma is calling. Oh, it's too dark outside. And then we never take the box off the shelf. And the more we put healthy changes in a box on the shelf, the less likely we're going to actually implement them. And so I'm just really passionate, and this has been, true for me most of my career. I'm just really passionate about these foundational changes and over time, done slowly. So if you're looking for a quick fix, Mother Trucker Yoga is not your thing. I'm not going to be able to give you what you want because I don't believe real lasting change happens in 30 days. Can you build momentum? Will you see change? Absolutely. But I want things to not yo-yo back, a year from now or 6 months from now. And then you're like, well, that didn't work. And now you hate health even more, which we all have been there at some level, right? Like something didn't work. It didn't work fast enough. And then we think all things are bad. And I just don't believe that's the right approach.
And it's really about long-term strategies, not just quick fixes. I mean, it's not to get looking good for someone's wedding or, whatever. Do you have a success story that you could share with us?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite success stories, she actually came and did the filming of the show Startup that I was on this past fall on PBS. Her name is Cheryl, and her husband are team drivers. They've been team driving for quite a number of years. And when I met Cheryl, her and her husband had just quit smoking. They both were struggling, overweight. Cheryl only had her 1-year card, and she's like, I need to make some changes. And I did a 30-day challenge with her, and she dropped weight, but that was a side effect. It was never the focus. She started eating healthier. Her and her husband started walking. They started drinking more water. And then they enrolled in one of my 90-day programs. And now I've been working with Cheryl for almost a year. But the best part is that her and her husband have not only adapted a healthy lifestyle to a trucking lifestyle, but them combined as a side effect. Remember, I said weight loss is never the focus. Them combined have lost over 100 pounds together.
You're kidding.
They are, I know, right? They are cooking some food on the truck. They're drinking more water. They reduced soda and coffee. They're getting out and walking every day. And her husband was very against this. He was like, Cheryl, go do what you want, and I'm just going to sit in the background and listen. And a few weeks in, all of a sudden he's on camera. And then all of a sudden he has some comments for things. And then all of a sudden he's doing some of these things. And I think one of the biggest reasons I share Cheryl and her husband is because Cheryl was on board and her husband was not. And her husband, over the weeks, was starting to hear these things and was on the calls and was watching this stuff. And he's like, oh, this isn't as complicated as I thought. This isn't big and scary. She isn't telling me I need to go and lift weights and do all these things. Like, oh, this is pretty practical. And Cheryl is one of my best client stories for that reason.
Oh, and that's what you need. You need success stories because people want to hear other people's stories, right?
Yes.
So, Hope, what's next for you? You just mentioned a movie or some kind of. Is it a documentary? What is it?
Oh, yes. So there's a show called Startup on PBS. They were in their 9th season when I filmed, and you can find it on startup.com or PBS's website. And they were filming startup businesses, and I met the producer, and she was like, "I love what you're doing. I think that you have a real mission here, and what you've created is solid, and I'd love to feature you on the show." And then she was like, "Do you have some drivers?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I have drivers. We can bring some." And so we filmed in Georgia at a trucking outfit that I work with, and the show we went live in November of 2021, just this past year, and it lives on Amazon Prime. It's on PBS.com, World Network, Create Network. It's on quite a few, so you can find it. 30-minute show gives you more information about what I'm doing and how I'm helping drivers if you want to learn more. But it's a really great show, and they're just a great company.
30-minute show. So tell me the name of it one more time.
It's called Startup. I can send you the link if you want to put it in the notes too, Ellen. It's called Startup. Okay. And if you go to pbs.com, you can search the show Startup, STARTUP, and then season 9, episode 9 is Mother Trucker Yoga.
Awesome. All right, I got about a minute left. Hope, what would you like to tell our listeners? And also remind them of your URL, your websites.
Absolutely. So website, mothertruckeryoga.com. If you head over there, you can grab the book Trucking Yoga. If you use the code WIN20, you'll get 20% off the book. I want you to have that in your hands. I want you to have those resources. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, but I'll leave you with this. You deserve to live a healthy life because without that health, you don't have much. You deserve to live a healthy life. The world needs you. Your wheels got to keep rolling. So you deserve a healthy life, one that you can move freely in your body and enjoy every minute of it. You deserve to live a healthy life. What's the small, simple change you're going to do today to make that happen?
I love it. I love it. And also on your website, you've got a podcast. You want to mention that?
Yeah, so I have a podcast, about 56 episodes that we've recorded on there. You can listen in, all about motivation, health, spirituality, you name it, just things that all promote goodness in your life. We have an awesome blog. If you're looking for articles on anything, feel free, go check out our blog. We got a lot of great content on there. And more importantly is, access that information. If it's not me, work with somebody that understands not just health and exercise, but understands how you can implement these things into your life, how you can make these small, simple changes, and is going to be there every step of the way to motivate you. There are people out there, if not me, now is the time to take action.
I love what you said about your health. People talk about how, once you lose your health, your whole life is disrupted. So you have to be more proactive. You have some amazing, your blogs are amazing. Everything from eating healthier, choosing foods, fast foods, things like that, stress, beating stress with stretching, things like that. And if you want to sign up and get Hope's blogs, you can be notified when the new one is up. So Hope, thank you so much for being on the Women in Trucking Show. It's mothertruckeryoga.com. I urge you to go to the website, listen to the podcast, read the blog, and everyone have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much again, Hope.
Thank you, Ellen.
Take care, and I hope to see you at a future trade show. And I know
absolutely.
I will be watching for you. Don't forget, get your book, Trucking Yoga. You can get it, mothertruckeryoga.com. Thank you so much. All right, everyone have a great week. Drive safe.